at the age of 5, on that day, I had like 10, even 20 people raping me. Some women next to me, they fought back and they would just be shot. We just knew that this is it. If I don't run, I don't move forward, they're going to catch me and I'm going to die. And I was so small. I just remember feeling like this is it for me, you know. This is the end for me. Like, what are they gonna do to us? She just kept on saying that when we get to South Africa, you know, I'll be able to go to school, you know, there's a whole different life that's waiting for us, and we'll have lots of water to drink, lots of food. For me, when my sister was painting South Africa, she painted this heaven that I need to work very hard for. I need to really be obedient, you know, listen to my sister's voice and her guide so that I can be able to get to this heaven. That is how she painted South Africa for me. Nelson Mandela has just recently got out of like prison, or he became the president now. So it's safe to go to South Africa, and she wants us to go there. And I asked her, where is it? She said she doesn't know, but she feels like something is calling her that we come to South Africa.
With all the odds against her, she kept on going, and today her story becomes a reflection that we can all respect, learn from, and be inspired to become more than we've thought possible. Help me welcome Popina Khumanda.
Popina, thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it. I said it to you when I first met you. I'm going to say it again. There was an energy that I felt when I first met you. It was an honor for me. If I don't make it having met you, then I'll never make it. Put it like that. Yanesh, thank you very much for coming. How do you feel? How do you feel?
I feel like this is a start of something really big, and I'm honored to be right next to you and right next to you too, Yanesh, and everyone here. I'm very honored. This is really something that is about to take over eventually.
Wow. Yanesh, yourself, how do you feel?
Well, I'm glad we could be at the start of something great.
All right. So if you met a person who you didn't know, who is in the process of writing a book, has just been accepted at UCT to study cybersecurity, has traveled the world, has been to Congo, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and South Africa. There's a picture that you have in your mind of what that person looks like. And it is fortunate for us that we have Popina, who is exactly that person. But I just want to read a part from her book that she's writing on chapter 6, so that we can somewhat get into the story of the journey that she took to get here. And it reads as follows. I remember when I was 5, there was a boy coming out of the bushes with a ball in his hands. By the look of things, he was playing soccer with the boys, and the ball went into the bushes as he was coming down with it. A bullet pierced through his head. I remember standing in there watching this boy die, shot in his head and twice on his back, and I watched him. My heart stopped. I became powerless. I couldn't move, and somehow I remember not hearing any sounds, but I can clearly see that there are people running, screaming, and hearts were being burned by soldiers. And this is a story that happened. Can you give us an introduction to who you are and how did you get to this place?
My name is Popina Khumanda. I'm originally from the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. I was born there. So the life that I knew, because I was born in a small village, the life that I knew was that life started in the village and it ended there. I never ever imagined that there could be a world somewhere, a different world somewhere, or there are other people that look different than me. You know, I knew that when it's at night, the whole world is sleeping. When it's raining, the whole world is raining, you know. And that is where I come from. And I remember I was 5 years old when the rebels attacked my village. It's called Zongo village. It's right close to the Cameroonian borders. So they attacked, and it started off like that, whereby, the boys were playing and the girls were playing as well. And the ball went off into the forest. And when he came out running with the ball, like a bullet just pierced through him. And it's like at that moment, everything just stopped. And then the rebels came out of nowhere. They started, burning the huts, collecting the little girls and boys, killing the older men and women. And that is when I was introduced to the harsh, cruel side of what it can be to live in this world, and how much people will be like, you know what, I don't like involving myself in politics. It has nothing to do with me, whereby even if you are not involved, it affects each and everyone that lives in this continent, that lives in this world. And when that happened, that's when like I was completely shattered. Like I didn't know that can possibly be true. Like it can exist, that other people can do such things to other human beings, and especially little kids. So that's where I come from.
How old were you?
I was 5 years old. Yeah.
So maybe talk us through what happened, like from that point on, like once you were captured, what happened?
When I was captured, we went to like other villages because they were collecting people. We went to other villages, and we sat there and we had to watch like those villages being done the same thing that was being done to our villages. And I was so small. I just remember feeling like this is it for me, This is the end for me. Like, what are they going to do to us? Where am I going to end up? Am I going to end up just like the other dead bodies next to me, or the other dead bodies that I'm just seeing falling down, So we walked with them for 2 days, and then we ended up at their like main base where they were based. And the third day, it was like the initiation now, where like the boys get to become part of their group, and part of that is to rape the girls that they, that come from the same villages as them. So like they would take off our clothes, and if you scream or you fight back, you get shot immediately. Like you just pa pa pa, and then you I was just standing there, and I couldn't fight back. I was just silent. My sister just said, don't fight, don't look them in the eye, and just do whatever they tell you to do. They took off my clothes. At the age of 5, on that day, I had like 10, even 20 people raping me. Some women next to me, they fought back and they would just be shot.
How long were you in that camp?
I was there until I was 10 years old.
So for 5 years?
Yeah. For 5 years, like, you'd be sleeping next to a dead body. I mean, this is a girl or a woman that you were talking to not so long ago, and she's just lying there now, dead. And sometimes you would even like envy the dead, You'd be like, I wish I was there, because this is just too much to handle. Yeah, for 5 years.
And then what happened?
And then one night I was being raped by one of the rebels. And my sister came from the back, and she started hitting him with a rock. And she hit him like his whole head was smudged. And we had like blood all over us, and she just said, we have to run. And that is how we started running. And they were like chasing after us in the middle of the night. And we were running. And at that time, I was so weak. I had like a big stomach and like a big head. My head is still big now, but it's not as big as it was then. You know,
It's because of malnutrition, obviously.
yeah, we were not being fed properly. We would go like a week not eating, 2 weeks just having water, you know, that kind of thing. So we escaped and we were running. And I remember when I was running, as young as I was, I knew that today, if I die, I am going to die free. I'm not going to die like the other girls who were like chopped down into pieces. Some were raped and then killed. Boys that were like, you know, killed because they didn't want to rape or torture other people. I felt like I'm dying as a free
So
person.
this is while you were, thoughts going through your head while you were
Yeah,
running?
while I was running. And the more I looked back, it was like the more they're getting closer. And something deep down me just told me, don't look back, just keep running, don't look back. And I didn't look back, I just kept on looking forward, and I just got that drive in me to want to like fight and move forward with wherever I was going. We didn't know where were we going, but we knew that we were heading somewhere, and we didn't need to have a plan or sit down, you know, put a whole list of things that we want to do, how we want to get there. We just knew that this is it. If I don't run, I don't move forward, they're going to catch me and I'm going to die.
This is you and your sister.
Me and my sister.
And so you said that it was at the north,
Yeah.
it's obviously the north of Congo, Cameroonian border.
Yeah, it's like up the border, like very up. It's not even close to Central Africa anymore. It's quite far.
And so you started just running, obviously away from the camp.
Yeah.
Where was your first stop that you took a breath to decide? Like,
The first stop was still while we were running. It was in the middle of the night. There was like there's like huge trees there. The trees are so big, and some of them like they even form like little caves. So we went in there, and my sister just told me, we don't move, we don't try not to even breathe, she said, because they couldn't see us. The more we moved, the more they could track. So she just decided, we're not moving, we need to find a place to hide. That was our first stop that we stopped at, and we slept there.
then what happened after that?
What happened after that is we woke up the following day and we continued running. We were not walking, we were running.
Wow.
It was just a run. There was no time to stop and take a breath. You took that breath while you were running. And we got to the river. That was our second stop. It was like a flowing river. Yeah.
I remember you told us that your sister had an idea of South Africa, and she
Yeah.
kept on telling you about that. What was the information she was giving you on South Africa at the time?
She was like hearing it from the rebels when they were talking, because they were quite involved in the politics and what is going on, you know, around the continent. And she mentioned that Nelson Mandela has just recently got out of like prison, or he became the president now. So it's safe to go to South Africa, and she wants us to go there. And I asked her, where is it? She said she doesn't know, but she feels like something is calling her that we come to South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah.
And of course, she mentioned to you that there's a different treatment that you guys would get in the event that you made it to South Africa. What was that?
She just kept on saying that when we get to South Africa, you know, I'll be able to go to school, you know, there's a whole different life that's waiting for us, and we'll have lots of water to drink, lots of food. For me, when my sister was painting South Africa, she painted this heaven that I need to work very hard for. I need to really be obedient, you know, listen to my sister's voice and her guide, so that I can be able to get to this heaven. That is how she painted South Africa for me.
Talk us through the journey, because that's a long way
Yeah.
from South Africa.
It was a long way, and you know, like in that walk, because we didn't have shoes.
Wow.
We didn't have shoes. We didn't have warm clothes. My sister had a liputa. A liputa is like one of those wraparounds. In Lingala, we call it a liputa. She had those wraparounds and just a normal old shirt, you know. And I had this big dress on, and we were just walking. And that liputa is what was keeping us warm at night, because she would put me in it and would sleep. And on each and every mountain would come across where I'll tell her I can't anymore. And she'll tell me, you see that mountain over there? When you can walk up to that mountain, we're gonna rest. And I'm gonna try and get you something to eat and stuff like that. So what she did with me is that she would like make me move to like a certain point. And each and every mountain, she had a whole story why we should get there first, then we would rest. But it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy. It was hard. So we would walk. We would eat grasshoppers, like raw grasshoppers on the way. Sometimes she would like find like lizards that we would like eat. We would even eat grass at some time. And when we find water, we would like stay there for 3 or 4 days. We'd just be drinking water straight. So that was like the journey. And we were like walking from Congo going into Zambia. And then as we crossed the borders illegally into Zambia, me and my sister only. And then when we got into Zambia, we found a group of Ethiopians, Somalians, Sudanese people that were also walking from their countries trying to get into South Africa. And then, you know, we tried to communicate. There was no kind of language that they understood, but then my sister could speak Swahili. So Swahili, all the African countries like have Swahili. Sorry. All the African countries, they have Swahili as a language, so she could be able to communicate with them. And she just explained to them what's going on, and they didn't want to know much. They just said that we just want to know where you're coming from, and she said Congo. And then they said, okay, our names will be +243. And then I only found out later over the years that +243 is Congo's landline or something.
Dialing code.
Yeah, dialing code. So we were +243, and we started walking with them, and it kind of felt safe because there were also women among them that were walking with them, and they had food. They were quite prepared for the journey compared to us. So we get into Zambia, and then we're trying to cross the borders now from Zambia into South Africa. And then the guys had like information, know that the borders are very strict along the Zambia and South Africa borders. If we want to cross the borders safely and with no drama, because when you get caught at the borders, they send you back or you just stay in jail forever until you can find a lawyer or someone to get you out, but you're stuck in prison for a long time. So we had to now move from those borders and start walking towards Mozambique.
Wow. That's right on the on the east side of Africa.
Yeah. So we started walking through Mozambique, walking towards Mozambique.
Through Zambia.
Zambia. So we crossed the borders from Zambia now into Mozambique. And then Mozambique, we had to cross the borders from there to South Africa. So that's how we ended up in South Africa.
Sorry, I just want to go back a few steps. You mentioned, as we spoke the other day, about eating the grasshoppers. You mentioned a really important thing about what you were eating when you were in the camp. I don't know if you want to share that.
When I was there, we would get so hungry. We would be so hungry. And then like the fresh dead body that just, you know, is there, would be like food that we eat, because we were so hungry.
So now you've entered into the South African border through Mozambique. How did you end up from there? I think you ended up in Johannesburg, right?
Yeah, we ended up in Johannesburg Park Station. We couldn't speak English. It was like a completely different world, you know. And there were like a lot of white people around. I was like, what is this? You know, there were like a lot of cars. You know, it was so busy compared to what I've seen. And it also kind of felt like the country itself was going through some chaos as well, you know, but it was not like you would wake up and people are shooting each other and stuff. It was just like, yeah, there's chaos. I can sense there's chaos, but it's safe. So my sister would lock me in the toilets at Park Station because it's 24/7. Like they don't close or anything. So she would like lock me up there in the toilets, and then she would come back late. She would have like cabbage or carrots that she found, tomatoes, you know. Then we were eating like that, or she'll come back with pieces of chicken that she found somewhere, and we'll just be sitting there and we'll be eating, and she'll be like, yeah, we're in South Africa now. And I'm like, yeah, we are. There's no fightings. She's like, yes, so you know what you're going to do here, right? And I was like, yeah, you told me I must go to school, no boys and no drugs. And she was like, yeah, that is your mission. That is what you came here to do. And she just kept on repeating the same thing, you know, in my head the whole time. And it stuck in my head that this is what I came here to do. I came here to study. I came here to be the best student that can read and write, you know, that can count and that can speak languages. That is what she like put in my head. And she came with this weird guy, you know, to come fetch me. And I asked her, what are you doing?
So how old were you by now?
I was 10, 11.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked her, like, what are you doing? Because already a man was like a no zone, no go zone, you know, what are you doing? And she's like, no, he promised he's going to help us because he could speak our language, Lingala. It's like he promised he could help us learn how to speak English. He'll find me a job, but in the meantime, we must go with him. And I just felt like something is wrong, you know, but I had to listen to my big sister. We go there. It was a nice house in a nice area, you know. He gave us food. And then when we woke up, we were in the basement of the house. And there's like a whole lot of girls there, Ethiopian girls who can't speak English as well. People are just speaking their own languages. There were even white girls there. They were speaking their own stuff. And I was just there and my sister was just there. And what they would do is like they would drug us with heroin. And then proper men would come, like proper men would come and rape us, you know. You wake up the following morning, you've got scars, you've got things going on in your body. You can't really recall what's happened. You can't remember. And I remember I just started feeling like there was something wrong with me. You know, like, why am I keep getting into situations whereby I am being abused, you know? And I just started feeling like I was not supposed to be here. You know, I was not supposed to be born, you know? Like there was a mistake somewhere. Like, why am I going through all of this? And on top of that, like, I wished so badly I could die. I wished so badly I could just die, like drop dead. It was not happening.
How long were you in the house?
Yeah, I don't know for how long was I there, but I wasn't really that long there. Because what would happen is that like they would let the little kids play outside. They were like kids, like small kids. 10, 5, 4, you know, and the younger you are, the more they just want you. You know, the more they want, the younger, the better, it seems.
Sorry, when you said proper men, are you referring to rich men, you said, right?
Yeah, like rich men. Like they looked rich. When I'm looking back now, they looked rich, like well off. Nice cars were there.
Wow. In Joburg?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they would let us play you know, on the yard sometimes, we were not even playing, we were just there like statues or something. And then the gate sometimes would open and no one would run. No one would even, but the bigger ones would still be stuck at the basement. They never went out. No one would run. And then I just kept on looking at the gate and something just told me, run, like run. And I was looking at the gate. I'm like, no, I can't run. They will kill me. And it just told me, run. And my feet just started running. I just started running and I was screaming. I was running, I was screaming. And there was one guy running after me, but he just let me go because I'm assuming that he knew that he will find me in the streets eventually again, because where am I going to go? So I started roaming in the streets of Johannesburg.
As an 11-year-old?
Yeah, I was one of the kids that you see in the streets, you know, collecting food in the bins, asking people for money, you know, asking people for food, walking around like looking hopeless, like futureless, you know. And because of like the drugs that they used to give us, I was not getting any of that. I started becoming sick. I was getting sick, I was coughing, and then eventually I passed out. And I woke up in the hospital, in the Johannesburg hospital, and there I was, talking, you know, my language going crazy, and then just inject me, I sleep again. I wake up, the same thing.
You're trying to get out? Or?
Yeah, I'm trying to get out because I don't know what was that. I've never seen a hospital before. So it was my first time and I had all these things going on. I was like, oh my God, am I dead now or what? So I was trying to go out, and whenever I would like, you know, throw tantrums, they would like inject me and I sleep. Then I just stopped. I just started looking around, and I would wake up, there's food next to me and there's water, and I was like, okay, this is something, you know. And then I would eat, and then I would just sit there and they would come and try and talk to me. I cannot talk back, or I would talk but I'm not speaking English. And then there was like one of the doctors that could speak my language, and then he sat down with me, he tried to talk to me. I didn't talk the first time, but then eventually
Did you understand what he was saying?
Yeah, okay. I understood exactly what he was saying, but I thought to myself, that other guy that took us to his house understood my language as well.
Okay.
He could speak it very fluently. So I was like, no, but he was not Congolese.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was just like, I'm not going to go into that trap again. I'm going to keep quiet until someone finds my sister, or I find my sister, get out of here, I go look for my sister.
How old was your sister? What was the age difference between the two of you?
She's now 39. I'm 26. So when we got taken, I was 5. I think she was 20 something.
13 difference.
Yeah. So
now you're in hospital fighting, and a doctor comes and
then eventually I told the doctor everything, and then he introduced me to a lady that found me. I'm sleeping, laying on
some lady found you and also took you to the hospital.
To the hospital, and she was working for Salvation Army. She was from the US. That's how she found me. And then they put me in a children's home. The social workers and the police, they put me in the children's home. And from there, the lady that found me was now being sent to Port Elizabeth. That's how I ended up in Port Elizabeth. She was being sent to Port Elizabeth to come work here. And she asked if they can put me in the nearest children's home. And they put me in dispatch. Oh my goodness, that's another story. They put me in dispatch waar almal Afrikaans praat. En ek kan nie eers Afrikaans praat, ek kan nie eers Engels praat nie. So hier is ek in 'n plek wat net Afrikaans mense is. So I ended up there in dispatch, and from there I had my very first experience wearing my school uniform.
So this is now around when you're 12, eh?
Yeah. They put me in a school uniform. I had a school to go to, and in my head it was like all heaven. And then when I got there, it was like a completely different experience again, because I'm sitting among my peers, And here's this weird looking girl with a big head and a big stomach. And I can't even hold a pencil. I don't even know what is a pencil. But I have this desk, I was admiring. It had like all kinds of crayons there, a book and everything. And the teacher was just like, can I help you? And I'm just smiling at her and I'm like, Alekol, you know what I'm saying? School. And everyone is just laughing. They're like, wat de kant is die, vrouw? You know, everyone is just laughing at me. And I couldn't just stop staring, admiring my desk. I was walking around it, you know, looking. And the other one's like, oh yeah, pambana lo. You know?
Can I just help you with this?
Oh, sorry.
This is bothering me.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, let me put it back. So, you know, they were laughing at me and I just started crying, you know. I was not crying because of them. Me, I was in my own world. I just started crying. And I realized, this is what I came here for. You know, this is what we fought so hard to get to. This desk and this board. And I never imagined the teacher to be white, but a very good looking teacher. So at that moment, and I didn't have my sister then, and I just wish she could just see that I've made it. I am in a classroom. I have a teacher, I have pencils, I have a book. The only thing is I couldn't write, but it felt like I've officially made it just being there. I felt alive and I understood why I couldn't die at that time.
Wow.
So that's how my journey has been.
But by this point, you weren't speaking English.
I wasn't speaking English as well. The children's home, they got me a translator who could speak Lingala, and I was in an Afrikaans school. So everything was in Afrikaans. English was like first additional language. So my maths was in Afrikaans. You know, hulle noem dit skynat. Physics was in Afrikaans. Economics, you know, all those subjects, they were in Afrikaans. So this translator now had to tell me in Lingala and then translate it into Afrikaans and then also translate it into English.
Wow.
And within a period of 6 months, I could speak English, Afrikaans, Xhosa. I could read and write all of them. Wow. And I was just like part of the top 3 in class. Wow. Yeah,
that's more than what I can do.
Yeah, so, and I developed, you know, I loved running. So I started going to like running, athletics. I started doing athletics at school and I was like really good at it. I was in the Eastern Province for it. And they always ask me, who doing that? And I'm like, I couldn't tell them, but in my head, I'm like, I'm always going back to when I was running, you know, running for my life. So when I'm running, that image just comes back and I just shoot. So I loved sports. I would be at school the whole day. After school, I'm doing sports, and then I'll go back to the children's home. So that is how I've managed to just stay focused. Is like repeating the same things over in my head and telling myself, okay, this is the goal. Whenever I would wake up in the morning, I'll look at myself in the mirror and be like, yeah, you're all like a dung. So this is the plan. We're going to school today. You're going to do the best that you can. At the sports field, you're going to run all those white girls and black girls out. And then you're going to come back, eat your supper, you know, and study hard. That was my schedule every day. I would repeat it in my head all the time.
So now you're in school in Dispatch,
Yeah.
learning economics in Afrikaans. And what happens after that?
Whoa, listen, what happens was after that was that, you know, the social workers, they try to get us into houses, you know, and at that time I remember Amy was going back to the US.
So Amy's the lady that found you, right?
Yeah, she was going back to the US and she wanted to take me with her, and they told her, no, there's a cultural difference, she cannot take me. And I remember being sad about it, and she left, but we still communicate and stuff. She left, and then from there they tried placing me in homes, you know, like they tried placing me in a Xhosa home in Mission Vale, and I would go there and they wouldn't understand me, you know, like I was like, we we both black people, like it's a black family, but like their culture and where I was coming from and what I've seen, it was completely different. So they'll end up like adding more to my stress. Yeah, and they would they started moving me from house to house, and I remember telling the social worker that I'm actually very fine at the children's home. I don't want to go anywhere. She was like, "Ma Popina, jy moet verstaan, jy kan nie vir die hele van jou lewe hier bly nie. Ons moet vir jou 'n familie kry." En ek sê, "Maar ek is baie gelukkig, jy kan ek hier bly nie tot ek 18 jaar oud is nie." Nee, jy gaan te oud wees en jy sal nie beter kan lewe nie as jy altyd in hierdie kinderhuis is nie. So it was just like a matter of like, okay, fine, let me just try and get these foster parents to foster me. And they found me a foster home. It was a Congolese family. They really worked hard to get me that family. But even there, I was struggling again because I was now taught into that whole Afrikaner culture, that Afrikaans culture. So now. And I was struggling to move with them. At the same time, I was not being treated well in the family. I was being abused. And I loved my books very much, but the mother of the house, she wanted me to be a servant, like to be a cleaner and look after them. And I told her, I can't do that. I came here to study. She was like, who's even going to pay for your school fees in varsity? This is the life that you have and you must accept it. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to accept it. I'm not going to, and I think that was the first time I ever stood up for myself, because all this time I would just listen to what people are telling me what to do. And then at that time, I remember I was 15. I told her that, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to school. And then she told me, well, if you go to school, don't ever come back. I said, okay, fine. I spoke to my friend. She was staying in Motherwell. I moved in with her. I told her mom, just give me like a month. I'm going to get a job and I'm going to move out. She was like, you're 15. Where are you going to get a job? I was like, just watch. And then I hustled. There was this lady who was opening up a Scooter's Pizza. It's now Roman's Pizza, but it was Scooter's Pizza then in Westering. And she was like, ma, hoe oud is jy nou, Popina? Ek is 15 jaar oud, maar jy weet, ek kan jou nie aanvaat nie. Ek gaan tronk toe gaan as ek jou vat. I was like, kyk hier vrou, niemand hoef nie te weet nie. Ek sal die plek skoon maak. I'll be the cashier. I'll be doing the stock taking. I'll even close the shop for you because I know you like going up and down. I can tell. She was like, how? I can tell by the hairstyle, So she was just like, okay, fine. I'm gonna give you just 1 week. 1 week I proved myself. I got the job. It was paying me 3,000 rand.
Wow.
I was just like, oh, ball, yo. I'm a baller. 3,000 rand. I went back to my friends. Mom was like, yo ma, enkosi kakhulu nendiyabulela, like ndifumene umsebenzi wezibonile ba ndipeyiwe namhlanje, so ndiyokhangela indawo yohlala. Sake, hey, uzohlala phi man Popina, omncinci yazi uzobiwa wena pha phandle. Ndothi hayi man, ndi-right, ndizoba right, uzombona ngibone esikolweni wena qha, you keep seeing me at school. She was like, okay fine, I'll go to Central. I'll walk around, I'm looking for a place to stay. People like, where are your parents? Go back home. I'm gonna call your mom. Being a rebel teenager is not gonna get you anywhere. Just go back home. And I'm like, but I don't have a mom, I don't have a dad. It's like, then listen, I'm not gonna have you as a tenant. I'll end up being arrested. And then eventually I found a garage in Military Road. It's like, hey, hoe gaan dit? Was an old opa. Hoe gaan dit daar? It's like, ja, dit gaan baie goed. Hoe ken jy Afrikaans? Moenie worry nie. Ek is op soek op 'n plek om te bly. Kan ek hierdie garage kry? Hoe gaan jy hier bly? You can see there's no door or anything. I was like, no, I just need a place to sleep. Sleep, study, go to work, go to school. Hoe oud is jy? Ja, I lied that time. Ek is 17 jaar oud. Jy lyk maar baie klein vir 17. Sê nee, jy weet, jy's downs, eet nie goed nie so. Kos is skaars. Nou lyk ons klein. He was like, okay, so dit gaan 900 rand wees. It's like 900 for this garage. It's like, well, are you gonna take it or leave it? I was like, you know what? I'll take it, but let's make it 700. He's like, no, you see, this garage even has electricity. But I was like, it doesn't have water for someone to stay in. The thing is, you're not supposed to stay here. And I'm like, Makaigi. I'm gonna be paying you 700 rand. Your garage won't be tempered on, and it looks like it doesn't even stay here. It won't be tempered. I'm gonna be taking care of the flat too. You've got tenants there, right? Like, yeah. And you see, if anything goes wrong, I see they're doing drugs or anything, I'll be the first to call you. He's like, okay, ma, je moet baie goed wees, nee. Je moet 'n soet meisie wees. I was like, jy gaan sien, jy gaan niks worry. So he gives me the keys. I give him the 700. He said, but I said it's 900. I was like, but this is all I have. He takes it. He's like, okay, I'm gonna be checking up on you once a week. Sharp. He goes. I get myself a second-hand bed, a stove, you know, a desk. I went back to my mother, and mother was like, yo, man, if you're yohlala, you pick up Popina, Masambe. We all go. I say, Tara, he garage. DTF, somewhere soon. It's gonna be mentioned. It's like, hey, Mahadebe, yes, when we are poop, yes, but it's fine. And they gave me a clan name, which is Mahadebe. Till now, I don't know how to like ustuta, but dingaza manje. One day. So she gave me her blessing. She said she's gonna be checking up on me, and Samantha must always report if I'm, you know, I'm at school or not. And I started staying. 16, I'm staying alone. I don't have people abusing me. I don't have, you know, I was at peace because I knew the mission. Go to school, read your books, no boys and no drugs. That was the rule. And I sticked to it. And I finished matric. I passed very well. And it was only then like the teachers even realized that this was what has been happening. This is how I have been living.
What school was it?
Newton Tech. My last year in matric, one of my maths teacher noticed that there was something wrong, you know. And because of her, I was able to really pass well, because she was like, no, come stay with us for the next 6 months. Just focus on your school, no work, no up and down, you know, stay, study. And once you're done, you can always go back and do your own things.
What's your maths teacher's name?
Mrs. Perrin.
Wow.
Yeah, Perrin. We still talk till this day. So she gave me that chance, and I really took it. I finished matric. And then I went back to the children's home. I was like, yeah, I finished, you know. You guys didn't, because when they were abusing me at the foster home, I reported it, and they said they can't do anything. I must go back. Ek moet dankbaar wees, ek het 'n plek om te slaap. So I was just like, I went back to them. I was like, these are my matric results. I want to go to university. They said they don't have funds. I was like, okay, fine. I had like 3-4 jobs, waitressing, looking after people's shops, there'll be stock taking events in Checkers and stuff. And I knew where to put in the CVs, baby girl. I was just that machine. I knew where to look for these jobs. And I made money. At the end of 2014, I went back. I was like, okay, I've got 5,000 rand. Can you please help me? They were like, we don't have money. The thing is, you are a refugee. You can't get into the NSFAS program. What? 2015, I took myself to a college. You know, I did my electrical engineering there, finished N6, graduated. I went back to them again. I was like, this is what I've done. They're like, no, we cannot help you. So after that, I just sat a bit, man. I was like, no, man, I cannot work like this all the time. I need to get quick money so that I can save for university. I looked around, what is missing in PE? You know, there's like too many, you know, fake hair. You know, there was this synthetic trend that was happening back then. Everyone is just on them. It will like tangle, it will look stock stiff, you know, and all those stuff. So I was like, let me try and find a proper hair supplier online. I looked, then I found this guy. He works at Teripatu. It's a temple in India. So I found this guy, called him, was like, hey, I'm Popina, I'm looking for hair. He's in India? Yeah, he's in India.
Wow.
I'm Popina, I'm looking for a hair supply. He's like, yeah, but you know, we only work in dollars. And then I was like, I've got rent. He's like, it's gonna be very expensive for you, but you know what, we can try something. I was like, okay, fine. I sent him my first cash, you know. I was like, yo, this guy, if I get, you know, scammed, I don't know, because that was the last money. That money I saved was like up to 10,000 for university fees. I gave it in. He brought the hair. I put some of the hair on me, and I was waitressing at Angelo's. So yeah, the girls would be like, yo, hey, nice hair, we take hair, what? Give them my numbers. And then I didn't have money, so I collected like 20 girls with their own money. I sent in buy stock, got extra stocks. They came, gave them their hair. They were like really happy. And it took like 5 days. Back then, 5 days was very fast. They told their friends. Then I was like, let me start a Facebook page. And I called it Urban Doll Factory.
Urban
Doll Factory. Urban Doll Factory. I started posting videos, of my clients with their hair, even with me with the hair, with really bad makeup that time. But it was selling, so yeah. And then from there, I generated some income. I saved up to like 30,000 that year. And I was like, okay, I am going to university next year. And that was like 2017 when I managed to get that money. I went back to the children's home. They said they don't have money. I was like, no, this time you do. You do have money. Because if I could make this 30,000 rand, you can contribute 15,000 rand. Because I fall into the international students. So it's expensive, you know. I need like 45,000 to get into this program. Will you please help me? The thing is, Popina, you're not even accepted. Oh, here's an acceptance letter from NMU. I got accepted. I just need like 6,000 rand for registration. And then next year you can top up from that 30,000 rand I will put in. And then the social worker was telling me a lot of things. And I was like, waar is Oom Rian? Ek is moeg om met julle te deel. Where is the director of the place? They're like, he's busy. We cannot. You must call in advance if you want to make an appointment with him. I was like, no, I'm his child. I was staying here. I'm his child. He works for us. So I want to speak to him. And then I just stood up. I went to his office. I was like, Oom Rian, ek is op soek. Ek is op noord. I need 15,000 rand. Afrikaans is bad now. I need 15,000 rand. Is like, for what? I want to go to university. Are you accepted? I was like, yeah, I'm accepted. Here's the acceptance letter. I was like, okay, fine, just wait here. Sits, opens up his laptop. I was like, yes, Oom Rian, yes. He's like, have you got the banking details? I was like, yes, sir. I gave him the paperwork. Okay, are you sure you're not going to disappoint us, Popina? Jy weet ek sal dit nooit doen nie. Okay. He puts in the details. 15,000 rand paid. And then I was like, okay, so I'm going to deposit my own 30,000 rand that I saved for. He's like, no, you can keep that. That's your money for your to live. And then I was like, okay, what about the rest of the money? He's like, don't worry. We're going to sort that out February when you get in. I was like, okay, fine. It's just like, be safe, take care of yourself, and you've done very well for yourself. I was like, oh, thank you. And then I left. That's how I got into varsity.
Wow. And what did you study?
IT.
And how was that?
Oh, I started off in the high certificate course, 1 year. That year was really nice. I was living life. Like I was chilled. I was just celebrating that year that, hey, I am within. I'm an NMU student. I'm a varsitician, So that year was really easy. And then when I got into the national diploma course, that's when it started hitting me that, hey, I need to be serious. Because I had like a 3-year, and the children's home was helping me. And also I was making money from, the hair business. So we were going half-half. So I was like, within these 3 years, I need to pass. I cannot fail. And the pandemic happened and all those things, but I managed to finish within that 3 years.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about your story, Popina, the metaphoric part at least, is, all of us have a journey or a goal that we want, right, in our lives, whether it being personal, relationships, work-wise. And the part that I'm getting from your story, the most important one for me is resilience, right? And keeping on and keeping on and keeping on. What would you say to the person who's at a point in their life where they don't see what the next steps look like? What would you say for them? And it's not as hectic as moving to South Africa, but it's maybe they want to change jobs, or they want to have a baby, they haven't been having a baby, whatever it may be, that thing that they want and long for so much, but they can't get. What would you say to that person?
It's not that you can't get it. It's just you're looking too far ahead of you. What you need to be doing is what we were doing is that we would see, this is where we want to get. We want to get to that mountain, but we were looking at the steps that were right in front of us. You need to focus on what is in front of you right now. Deal with it, and then from there, it will move you to the next step forward. You need to, don't look. You can look and admire, but be very aware that this is where you are. This is the situation right now. So I need to do A, B, C. Let's start with A first. And after you've finished with A, you move on to B. And after you're finished with B, you move on to C. Like, it's always those little things that we take for granted. For granted, right? For granted. And you don't celebrate them as well, because you're just like, oh, it's not like I've won an Oscar, or it's not like, I've graduated. It's just like I just passed the test. But when you pass the test, it puts you to the next step, whereby now you can be able to pass other tests so that you can graduate, or so that you can get your new promotion, or that promotion you've been wanting, or so that you can lose that weight that you've been wanting to lose all this time. Or, so that you can fall pregnant to get that baby, and be a baby, and have a baby. So like, you must always just look at what is in front of you. What is that first step that needs to be taken? That's how you push.
So in our conversation the other day, you spoke about your efforts to try and get a job.
Yeah.
And there were some challenges around that. I don't know if you want to share about that.
Yeah, there has been challenges because of like my paper. I'm a refugee, but I don't need a work permit or a study permit because I'm a refugee. Like, I have an ID number, which is like a South African ID number, but I just fall under the refugees, which I have to like apply for every 4 years. So a lot of companies, as much as yes, I'm good, my results are good, everything, I'm presentable, I can do stuff, but they can't really hire me. I don't know why.
There's a fear attached to.
Yeah, there's a fear attached to it. So it becomes really hard, and I'm just like, I'm just trying to have an honest living. So that has been my challenge for this past few months.
So Popina, we have this, especially South Africans, two things for me, right? The one thing is, I grew up not knowing that there's a reality like that anywhere else, right? And so I was very shocked to realize that there's a reality like that exists. The other thing is that there's this perception of immigrants that South Africans have, that all of them sell drugs, or that. If you had an opportunity now to help change that, what would you say to the South Africans that see a Nigerian, a Zimbabwean, a Mozambican, and they have this stereotype? What would you say to those people?
I would say, from like just me being a foreigner, I would say, like, just be more open-minded. Like, there is room, literally, there's room for everyone. And if we as Africans can like all come together and work together, I feel like the continent will be a much better place, even the countries itself. So I really push for that we one day become like United States of Africa, because the more we unite, the more powerful we become. Because like, look at Congo. Congo has so many resources, like Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, like Nigeria itself, it's so rich in resources. Egypt, Niger, all these places. If we could all come together and just be open and like try to heal each other, like heal one another, we would like definitely like have enough room for everyone.
Yeah, I think what the conversation has taught me is that you can't generalize. And I think there's criminals from every country, including our own, right?
Yeah.
And so putting people into these generalistic buckets doesn't make sense. I think you have to look at an individual. I mean, just listen to her story.
Yeah.
You can't say all Congolese are like this or all Zimbabweans are like that. It's just everyone is human, everyone is different, and so you have to treat everyone individually.
Yeah.
The second part is a difficult question, and you don't have to answer it. I get the sense, especially from South Africans, Black South Africans particularly, most of us stay in townships, right, jobless, and there's this sense that there's something we don't have, right, and there's someone who needs to be giving it. And in my experience, even from Joburg to Port Elizabeth, the Nigerians, the Zimbabweans, the Mozambicans, all the people that are coming into the country, they are on Bolt, they are on scooters, Uber Eats, they are clean, they're taking all the jobs, right? Taking all the jobs, but they are getting a source of income. In fact, I got on an Uber the other day and the guy was telling me he's 27 and he has 5 cars bought cash and they are on Uber. And I started to wonder, why do people who are coming into the country make it, but we are in the country and we don't make it? Why do you think that is?
I know for sure, like when I got here, we are driven by hunger. When you're really hungry and you've seen it all, basically, like you start feeling like nothing is impossible. You can break through the paradigms. You can like change the code. You can really achieve the impossible. So when we get here, we see like there will be a lot of rules, they'll even try to restrict us, but we still like navigate through all of that because we have seen it all. We are not driven by fear anymore. We're driven by ambition now. Like we want to prove that, like we are alive and we deserve to be here. That is what drives me most of the times. Like I deserve to be here, and I cannot let so many people that died to like let me see for me to come here and fail, because through that whole process of me coming to this country, a lot of people died along the way. Some women, they stopped walking, they just gave up, their feet got numb, they couldn't walk anymore, but the person you can see is trying to get there, but like the body has given up. So all those images will just pop up and be like, no, I cannot be feeling sorry for myself. I cannot be complaining. I need to be fighting. Even if I get 10 rand a day, that is something. 10 rand can buy me a loaf of bread, not anymore, but it can buy me a half of bread. And that is enough to keep me going.
So it's a mindset thing, right? So picture this. A lot of corporate companies, when they're using their CSI spend, they go into the townships, build libraries. They're trying to get that mindset into the people, right? They're trying to give them books. But listening to you, where did that mindset come from? Because you didn't read it from somewhere. I know I read books a lot, and I would say that I'm trying to get that mindset, but I read it somewhere. Where did you get that? Oh,
you know what I can say? What I've realized with life is like, in order for solutions to be, like for problems to be solved, we need more suffering. It sounds bad, but we need more suffering. When there's suffering, there's pain, there's I hate to say it, there's poverty. That's when you see, and there's also anger. That's when you see solutions popping up, people wanting to better. But the moment there's nothing going on, everyone is just being like put in places that, okay, don't complain, don't do this, okay, don't do it, okay, we'll try and sort this out. That's when you cause more problems in society. You cause more, because people have more than enough time to be stressed about things that don't matter. But when there is anger, there is suffering, there is torture, there's just disruption in a place or just within people. That's where you see solutions coming in, ideas, motivation, the will to want to thrive. That's where we're gonna get things out, like solve problems. But the more we are trying to put more grants in and more housings and creating really some useless jobs out there, the more we're not going to grow as Africa, the more we're just going to go down.
Yeah, I think it's if I'm understanding you correctly, it's rather than giving a fish, it's about teaching how to fish.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe we fall into the trap of the right thing to do is give fish.
Yeah.
As opposed to rather do the hard thing and teach somebody how to fish. Because the first few days you're not going to catch.
Yeah.
And so that's a difficult, if I'm understanding your description.
Yeah.
The thing is, she wasn't taught. There's no one that taught her and said, this is it, do this, and this is how you fish. How do we incorporate that to our kids, right? Because now we live in this Instagram world, everybody wants to be an influencer, right? And everybody wants to get it easy. How do we get that as a tool? And like I'm saying, I'm opening this to everyone. It's not like I'm asking the question directly, but I'm just trying to fathom how we can just take this and have it as medicine that we can give to people, or they can get themselves.
Can I suggest one thing?
Yeah.
Show people the story. I don't know. I don't know if there is a solution that's here's the 5 things you must do and you solve it. But I think at least what we could do is make the story viral. I think people will I'm sure most people will learn and appreciate that maybe where I am right now is not so bad, and I should actually fight for more, as opposed to I wish I had more, I wish I had more, I wish I had more. Let me take a selfie and put it on Instagram. And why there are no likes?
Yeah.
You know, which is what people are obsessed with. If you,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, that may be step one of many, but I think it's such a critical question. I don't know if anyone has the right answer yet.
In closing, Popina, I just want you to think about, what do you want your legacy to be? I mean, you already have a legacy, to be honest with you. But fast forward 20 years from now, what do you want to achieve so that the next Popina or the next Goodwill or the next Yanesh or the people, what do you want them to look at what you've done in your journey and take? That's part one. Part two is for anyone who wants to ask questions, we're going to be moving to the main boardroom with Popina so that you guys can ask questions.
Sorry, maybe we can ask some questions here, because I think we've got a bit of time.
Okay.
If that's okay.
No more bedroom, main boardroom. We can ask the questions.
But if it goes like maybe beyond 1:30, we can move upstairs.
Okay. Let's start with the legacy question first, and then we'll open up the floor.
Maybe just to add to the legacy question is my last question is, if you could wish one thing for this podcast that we're gonna publish would achieve something, what would it be for you? Like, put yourself first. What's your one wish that you could get out of us doing this whole thing, that if somebody's listening somewhere in the world, that they could do for you?
I would say live your life to the fullest, and don't be afraid of new things, like challenge yourself to develop, advance yourself, appreciate the smallest things, like having running water in your house. You get home, your wife or your kids have cooked a beautiful meal for you, eat it with like love and passion and appreciation. Like, live your life to the fullest. Yeah.
No, I think that's what I was trying to ask was, what do you want?
What do I want?
Yeah. What if somebody was listening out there, not advice,
Okay.
like, I wish I could do this. I hope somebody might listen that could help you achieve that.
I'd like to be a representative of the refugees for the United Nations.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I would like to do.
Well, I hope somebody's listening that can help you towards that.
I hope so too.
She's gonna do it. I can feel it in my heart.
I've almost got no doubt in my mind.
She's gonna do it. Any questions from you guys?
I'd like to find out, I don't know if I've missed it, your sister. I think she's the unsung hero. The story is magnificent. Did you ever find her from that house? How is she?
Oh.
What do you think drove her in saving you?
My sister, she was found in Johannesburg, in the streets of Johannesburg. She's currently working in Sandton at a restaurant. She has beautiful kids. When we talk, because we always talk about the same issue over and over, she always says that she had a dream. Like, she dreamt that she was like, at first she didn't know who it was, but as the dream started becoming clear, she dreamt that I was in I think a conference or something, and there was just like people standing and clapping hands, and she couldn't see properly, so she was like trying to see who was it, and then it hit her that it was me. So from there onwards, she felt like that was her mission in life, to get me here. So I'm here because of my sister, and the way I am, I can also say it's because of her. There's just something about her that just at that instant, she knew what to do, she knew where to go, she knew how we could survive the forest, because it wasn't easy. There was like wild animals there. She was just, the book describes her like, she was like a Tarzan here.
You made a valid point regarding the Instagram and the Facebook posts, and we cling on to the acceptance of others. And if we don't get it, we find ourselves not knowing who we are. How did you get beyond that part? And what is your vision?
You know, I still struggle now and then with it, but then I constantly remind myself that, you know, I am here for a reason. I've got a purpose, and a purpose is not something that you find. It's something that you create, and it's created by your surroundings. So when all those things are happening, it's not because, you know, I'm a nobody. It's because I have a purpose in me, and that purpose can only come out through situations that is being created around me. So when people are attacking me or they're saying bad things about me, I know it's actually the opposite, because I'm great. You know, that's what I always tell myself, like, I'm great, and you are going to witness that sooner or later, but you will see how powerful and what an impact I'm going to have in this world, because that is my purpose. You need to understand your purpose in life. What is it that you want, and what does it take for you to get there? And as you go through it, whatever challenges come your way, you know that this is just a distraction. You know, I need to move forward. And sometimes, yeah, we play along with it, but then you have to step back and be like, no, girl, no, you are greatness. There's greatness in you. Yeah, that's how I do it.
Awesome.
I just have one question for you. First, before the question, I believe you have a beautiful story, tragic, but really beautiful, really inspiring as well. And I heard that you're in the process of writing a book, or it has been written. For people who are interested in reading that book, how do they go about getting it?
Oh, right now, we haven't created a platform. Where is it going to be it? But I think from what we've discussed, that it's going to be on Amazon first. Yeah, that's where it's going to be.
Do you have a launch date? A release date, sorry?
Yeah, something to look forward to.
Yes, I do have a release date, which is April, but we don't know what date is it yet. Yeah, but it's April 2023 next year.
And then the information can be found on your Instagram page.
There is a Facebook page for the book and an Instagram page for the book.
What's the book called?
Building Freedom 243. Yeah.
243.
Yeah. Oh, guys, making me wanna cry. Yes.
Hi. The story is really lovely. It comes with a lot of pain, and hearing this story has just been very emotional. I've been like enough, trying to hold my tears again the whole time. But the first time you decided to actually tell your story, how did you feel? Like, how did you get to that point to sit down with yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to put my story out there for the world, and hope the young girls out there, and help everyone out there who's also trying to come up from something like that you went through? And what gave you the strength?
You know, what gave me the strength to start talking about it is because, like, the girls that I grew up with in the children's home, I started seeing them in Central selling themselves, you know? Because, like, the social work system, like the childcare system is so bad. Like, when they put us in these foster homes, most of the time, the people that take us in, they don't have good intentions towards us. We just get more sexually abused more than anything else. And I started seeing, like, my friends that I was with in the children's home in Central, because I used to stay in Central. They would be in the corners, you know, like, selling themselves. And they would be like, "Ma, wat kan ek doen? That is al wat ek weet." And because we never really talked, like, you know, like, discussed where we're coming from and stuff like that, I'd be like, no, it's just a matter of, like, understanding that it's choices that we make. Some choice, you'll think that you don't have a choice, but actually there is a choice. You can say yes or no. You just need to be strong mentally. And they'll be like, they don't know how to do that. That is all they can do. And then from there, I started, you know, like, talking to them and telling them my story, and then trying to help them go to rehab. But it would not go well for us because they end up hating me. But that's when I decided, no, I need to, like, tell tell, like the girls will start telling the kids at the children's home. So when the Oosterland, Jeugdcentrum, that's where I'm from, started paying my school fees and stuff, I would go sometimes and help out with the kids, or go to Erika House. It's also another children's home, and just, tell them my story and motivate them and make friends with them. That's how it started. Yeah.
Now with me, Popina, it's not a question, it's actually a comment. Firstly, I would like to say it's an honor to be in your midst. It's an honor to be in your presence and hear your story firsthand. It's an honor having to listen to your story. Half of the time we hear the stories in the movies. And it's almost that we've created a mentality that it's just a story. But having to hear it firsthand and it practically happen to you, I am so drawn to African stories. I'm an artist, by the way. One of these days, probably I'll perform something about you. So what I would love to say is, please don't stop. Please don't stop. You're not only going to save a lot of girls from like an African perspective or history or whatever, but you're gonna save girls as well from these tricky places. Because in our assumption, we think it's homely and they are safe. But knowing that these things are happening, good Lord, there's just a lot happening in my head right now. But I just wanted to say, do not stop. Do not stop, regardless, do not stop. And may God bless your journey, and may God bless everything that you have, and you deserve everything that's good coming your way.
Thank you.
How do you get yourself mentally in a state where you can literally say that I don't care about the suffering is going to be something great for me? How do you get that right every day? Because every day there's a new challenge, and you get reminded with flashbacks. How do you get past that every day?
How I get past that is by, I don't really see it, for me in my situations, I don't see them as like a problem anymore. I just see it as like, oh, this is what's happening. What are we going to do now? Yeah, I don't get a shock anymore. I don't get shocked by problems anymore. What I do is I just go silent. I mute it completely until I feel like, okay, I'm strong enough to face it. So like what I would see, okay, here's a problem, and I don't go wow. I see it and then I ignore it for a while until I start saying, okay, it's happening now. I need to pay attention to this thing. And then as I pay attention to it, I go into it very calm, like solitude, like sometimes like we so very much designed to panic. The moment you start panicking, that's when you're gonna mess it up. You need to like look around the situation and give it time, and then go back to it and be like, okay, what can we do here? Because I can see this is a problem. That's how I tackle my challenges. I don't go immediately in. I let it brew a bit, go to the gym, go swim, drink lots of coffee, meet up with my friends, and then after a while I say, okay, it's silent, it's quiet. Let me go check out, how am I going to pay this rent? Yeah.
I love the fact that you give your sister the credit that's due to her, and this is a platform where you can take all the credit, but you don't. I want to know, like, you left, I'm still in this whole story.
Yeah.
So you left the house in Johannesburg and you ended up in the hospital, then came to Port Elizabeth. How did you reconnect with your sister? I don't know if I missed.
Oh no, the social workers found her because what happened is that I reported that my sister is missing, and the police were also involved, and I kind of gave a description of how she looked like, and then from there I think as much as we like undermining these police officers, sometimes they really do great jobs. They were literally going around looking for like a destitute young girl, young lady. And then they found someone and they called the social workers. She can't speak English, she's high, she's all by herself. Could it be the one? And then they contacted me as well, and they set me down. They said, we might have found your sister. We're going to send you a picture of her in the next week. Will you be able to identify her? That's how I found my sister.
Wow. And how was that first colleague?
The first time she came to the children's home, and we were just like looking at each other. She's like, look at you, all fed up. And I was like, yeah, nazolia ebele hour, meaning I'm eating a lot. And she's like, I can see. And how far are you with school? I was doing grade 7 then. No, nazola grade 7 siko. She's like, what is grade 7? I was like, yo, hour. So I showed her my books. I showed her my report from grade 6. She's like, oh, I see there's an A there. I was like, you know, we didn't walk here for nothing. Yeah, that was the first time she was really excited. She was so happy to see that I'm exactly where she thought I would end up. And I had my own bedroom at the, small things that we were like really, mesmerizing. And the social was like, Lakhanan, what a bed. So she was all hyped out about my bed. I showed her my wardrobe. I've got clothes. I've got, shoes, my shoes. I showed her my shoes. I walked around with her at the children's home. I showed her my friends. And she was really happy. Yeah, that's how we got back. And we still talk till this day.
Forgot to ask you about your mom.
My mom, I met my mom for the very first time in 2019. The social workers found her in 2013. And we got together in 2019. And that was the first time. And also with her, she just kept on looking at me like, okay. And I was doing my first year for my national diploma course that year. So she came and I took her to the university and she's like, yo, and here I am at the age of 67. I can't even read and write. I'm sitting here with a writer. I was like, oh, right. She's like, no, you can read and write. That's something. So she was just me being admitted to like a university, she was like crying. I was like, Baba, please. She was like, yo, mwana nangahi. Oh, Nzambe. She was just like crying the whole time and all people were staring at us. She was like, Nelson Mandela University. Oh, Jesus, merci. She was just going on. And people didn't understand. But to her, she was just like admiring more than anything else. And as for me, it felt like I was with a total stranger, but she's my mother.
Wow.
One last one.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out, how's the state now in DRC? And do you think, would you ever go back there?
It's still the same. Yeah, it's still the same till this day. And there's probably more stories that are happening, more girls and even boys going through stories, experiencing things that they shouldn't. It's still like that till this day. It's still like that. Yeah.
What are you going to do next year?
Next year, well, the book is out and I'm going to be studying at UCT, doing my honors. And I got a job. Yeah, but it's not cleared out yet. But that's what next year's looking for me. Yeah.
One last question for me. It's bothering me. I don't want to ask it, but I just want to ask it. But I don't want to ask it.
Ask it.
You don't have to answer. What's your relationship like with men now?
Woo! Oh my goodness. At some point I had like daddy issues. Yeah, I dated a way older guy. Now I'm seeing someone and it looks very healthy. Looks like a healthy relationship, but I'm a bit withdrawn, but it's very healthy for me. Yeah. That's how it's looking like. Yeah. You like things, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know it was that kind of podcast.
Yeah.
Popina, thank you very much. Again, if any of us don't become what we want from this, it's never going to happen. Thank you for coming. Guys, thank you for sharing this moment with us. I hope it helped you as much as it helped me. And to be continued when the podcast comes out. Thank you.
Thank you.